So in the last video, we made an animated shader using Shadergraph. The last thing we're going to do for this series is going to be a parallax occlusion mapped shader. So this is a way of simulating depth without actually having depth in the geometry. It's much more accurate than using a normal map for it because it actually will self-occlude. So if you're looking at a high part of the texture, it won't show what's beneath it in terms of height. So it's a much more accurate way of doing height-based texturing, but it is much more expensive than just normal mapping. For parallax occlusion mapping to work, the camera has to ray march the rays into the visible section of that shader. So ray marching isn't a cheap operation to do. I would not recommend using parallax occlusion mapping for any very low-end machines or mobile. It's too expensive for those GPUs to handle. But for a decent PC, you should be fine. So for this one, I'm going to do a brick texture. Even though everything so far has been on spheres, I am going to actually use a cube for this one, just because bricks don't really get applied to spheres very often. So I'm instead going to use a cube for this. And well, let's set it to, let's say 3. And I'm just going to reduce the Z down a little bit. So we have a cube here. And I have also added to my project 2 textures, one called bricks displacement and one called bricks normal. These are from my 10-minute materials series. If you're curious about how to make those, I made these in Blender and baked the textures. So use that. I'm just going to use the textures for this and show you what exactly parallax occlusion mapping is good for. So we're going to create another new lit shader graph, and we're just going to call this POMSG for parallax occlusion mapping shader graph. And we're going to, as usual, create a material for it and call it POMSG test. So we'll apply that to our material and we'll open it up in the shader graph viewer. So parallax occlusion mapping, we need a couple things. So we're going to first add a texture that's going to be our height map. And it's important to pay attention to this part. I'm going to set it default to displacement. And this texture, I want to use tiling and offset so I can control the size of the texture. For any of our other textures, we do not use the tiling and offset. This will be applied to all downstream textures or all downstream samples. So leave the tiling and offset for only the displacement texture. So I'm going to put that in, and we're going to do parallax occlusion mapping. And there's a lot of different parameters here. So basically, the only part we're really going to be concerned with for this is going to be the amplitude and the steps. We can leave the rest of it alone. So we're going to create a float for amplitude and a float for steps. We're going to feed both of those in, default the amplitude to 1, steps to 5, just so it stays default. You can do the tiling and offset here. However, I find that it's easier to work with in the texture. It just makes it a little easier than having to modify it in here, but you realistically can do it either way. So there are 2 outputs here. There's the pixel depth offset, which basically is the reading of how deep a pixel should be relative to the flat plane of the face of the texture. And then there's the parallax UVs. This is the important part we want to actually deal with. How parallax occlusion mapping is it simulates depth by offsetting the UVs to be what should or shouldn't be visible. For parallax occlusion mapping, you do have to use a texture. You cannot feed in, say, a noise map. So using this for an animated texture, it's just too expensive to do a dynamic texture for this. It's, I believe, the main issue is memory in that case. A modern graphics card could handle it, and it may be a feature in the HDRP, but for the URP it is not, so you need to use a fixed texture. But basically, we're going to feed this parallax UV into all of our other samples for textures. So we're going to create another one. We're going to call this base map. We're going to create one more, and this one will be normal map. Don't forget for your normal map to set it to a normal map type. And again, do not use the tiling and offset for these two textures. We already did it in our height map, and since we're going to feed the UVs from our parallax node, it will automatically apply the tiling and offset for us. So what we can do is we can feed this into a sample texture 2D. I'll move this actually up here, and we're just going to feed this in as our UV value. Now, we also need to do this for our sample texture 2D for our normal. Make sure to change it to normal space. Feed that in there. And we have our two values here. So we realistically can just test this out by feeding these two values in to our base color and our tangent space normal. So right now our material doesn't look like anything because we need to actually set our maps. So we're going to set the height map for both our height and color map just because it's easier to do it that way for now. Our normal map, make sure this is marked as a normal map. And let me just set this to 0 for now. So with the amplitude at 0, there's no parallax occlusion mapping. And you can see when I look on the edge of the texture, it just looks flat. However, if I increase this to say 6, all of a sudden it now looks like these bricks are sticking out and you can't see inside the edge unless you're looking at an angle that would let you, well, look inside of it. That's what the parallax occlusion mapping is doing. It's simulating the depth by occluding parts of the texture based off of their height. If you look from a really steep angle, you'll see it is still flat. There's no modification of the mesh. But from most other angles, it looks like there is some sort of depth to it. Now, again, at some steep angles, you can get some weird effects. And by controlling the number of steps, this is basically how much it's ray marching each ray through to determine what the height is. Keep this number fairly low. 100 is really high for ray marching. But yeah, and then the amplitude controls basically the height difference between the values in our height map texture. Both of these things can be finicky, so I'd recommend keeping them fairly low. But that's the basics of parallax occlusion mapping. It's good for simulating depth where you don't want to, but just keep in mind it is expensive, and at certain angles there can be some distortion that's just unavoidable with how the ray marching works. But that's really it to creating parallax occlusion mapping. For any of your textures that you sample, you need to make sure you're feeding in the parallaxed UVs unless you want it to apply without the mapping. But just remember, it is an expensive technique because it requires ray marching. So be fairly limited with where you use it. But it is very useful for creating depth where you don't want to actually model a mesh. It will still be cheaper than having an extremely high poly mesh to create this effect. Plus, you can have it only be distance based with the steps. It's only going to go so far before it stops counting and just doesn't apply the occlusion mapping. So it's more performant than a really high poly mesh, less performant than not bothering with it at all. So that's pretty much it for my Shadergraph shader series. If there's anything else anyone's interested in, please let me know. I can make more videos, but I just wanted to cover pretty much the basics of HLSL and Shadergraph. So thank you for watching.